Hi there, it's Peter. Welcome to my channel. Welcome to part 4 of the Australian Beatles discography overview. This will be the last part in this series. I hope you've enjoyed the previous 3 and I hope you've actually found them enjoyable and educational. So, picking up where we left off, first one is Yellow Submarine. So, this was the soundtrack to the animated movie of the same name. Not a full Beatles album as such. It kind of replicates, in a way, the American versions of A Hard Day's Night and Help, which were half movie scores and half Beatles songs. The second half of this album was scored by George Martin, or Sir George Martin. The Beatles songs themselves, 2 of them have been previously released as singles. The other 4 were, for want of a better term, leftovers of songs that they'd recorded and were still working on. Things like Only a Northern Song, which was originally going to be released, well, going to be included on Sgt. Pepper, wasn't included, it was deemed not good enough. Hey Bulldog, It's All Too Much, and All Together Now. There is a kind of a throwaway aspect of this album, even though the scores are quite nice from George Martin. But the value for money aspect, I think, was questioned back in the day. There was even mooted to have a 5-track EP playing at 33 and a third, issued in mono, true mono. And there was actually even a tape in EMI's vaults of that. That did actually see a lot of day as part of the Mono Masters LP and CD sets, which were included in the Beatles and Mono boxes. So, thank you for small mercies, I suppose. But anyway, that's the stereo version. There are stereo and mono versions of these, as such. Somebody in Albury previously owned this album. This is the mono version. Now, the mono was very, very hard to get hold of, which is probably why I plumped for getting this one, because it's got a name on it, doesn't really matter. This is not a genuine mono album, unfortunately. This is a fall down. So this is why also it is not included in the Beatles and mono box sets, because it's not a true mono pressing as such. However, that mono pressing is scarce. I've been lucky to find one. I found it on eBay a few years back, going back 5 or 6 years maybe. The monos were deleted very quickly because the whole mono catalogue, Beatles mono catalogue, but I think all mono albums at EMI were deleted at the time and just went to stereo. Yeah, so that's what happened in 1969. That's the stereo version with the stereo logo on top. And it's a funny thing about the rear cover, this the UK, Champion the UK cover with the review of the White Album, which seems like a strange place to put a review of an album, especially another album. Anyway, that's the cover for that. That's the label for the stereo version. Funnily enough, no stereo wording on this LP. The only way you can tell it's stereo is because of the catalogue number PCSO 7070. Of course, the other one was PMCO. That's the other one. Okay. So that's that. There was a coloured vinyl version, and again, we have the label there. This is the third coloured vinyl LP. I've showed you the other 2 in the last video. This was issued in 1987, as we've determined. Pardon my earlier error on the last video. That's the yellow vinyl. I note also that there is a Yellow Submarine soundtrack which came out in 2000, and the vinyl version of that, the first pressings of the vinyl were also yellow vinyl. The black vinyl came out after. So it's just interesting that there. The song track was, of course, a very different album to that one. It actually included all of the songs that were included in the film itself. Like so. Okay, so the next album that brings us to my favourite LP of all time, not just a favourite Beatle LP, but my favourite Beatle LP of all time, is Abbey Road. The last album they recorded together as a band, released before Let It Be. This is the Australian pressing, of course. This is, one thing I've noticed is that this appears to be the only LP around the world, this version of it, which actually has a stereo logo on the cover. And plus, down the bottom here, other versions of the cover have a grating here. This has been cropped, so that grating doesn't appear. I've never actually had seen the grating before this. So, yeah. This is what's also known as the blood cover. There's actually a red stain here, probably a print fault of some kind, a blotching, whatever it is. But this particular album, for whatever reason, is collectible for that reason. That's the rear. Of course, there's no Your Majesty credit on this cover or even on the label itself. Probably an example of the world's first hidden track. Unless there are other examples that people can tell me about. But it wasn't common to have a hidden track. I suppose you could include the inner groove for Sgt. Pepper as well. But this is a hidden track as such that was not credited. And you think about it, there's also Can You Take Me Back, which is the link track on the White Album, which just before Revolution 9. There's the labels for you. Of course, this is issued only in stereo. By now, mono was dead and buried in Australia, as far as new releases go. Okay, so while the world was waiting for a new Beatle album, as in the shape of Let It Be, which was Get Back, which became Let It Be, Alan Klein, who was the Beatles' manager at the time, decided to release an interlude album in America, that being Hey Jude. This was also issued in Australia, not on import, but actually locally pressed. It's a compilation album comprising tracks mainly from 1966 through to 69, but also includes Can't Buy Me Love and I Should Have Known Better, and they were actually included because they weren't included on previous Capitol LPs at the time. The original labels, the album was originally called Beatles Again. That's the label that it first appeared, before being renamed as Hey Jude. But as I said, this album was, strangely enough, issued in Australia, locally, and that is the Australian pressing. Now, I didn't know any better when I was buying these Beatle LPs, so I thought it was just another one, not realising there was an American concoction. A good LP, but I think it's poorer for the omission of The Inner Light and Get Back, considering their A-sides, their respective A and B sides are included. I Should Have Known Better and Can't Buy Me Love are strange inclusions, considering they are from 1964. They seem to be out of place somewhat on that album. If they didn't include a Get Back and Inner Light, it might have made more sense. Get Back was being held back for the Let It Be album at the time, so that would explain why it wasn't included. The Inner Light, well, who knows why that wasn't included. Would have been nice if it had been. Okay, so that brings us to the final LP, released after the Beatles broke up, essentially. The Let It Be LP. In Australia, it was released as a box edition, same as in England, and same as in many other countries. It was outer sleeve. It came with a book, which I'm not going to attempt to open because it tends to fall apart. These books are very fragile. I've got a spare copy over here as well. That's that. That book will also be reproduced as a hardcover, I understand, next year when the delayed Let It Be Get Back remaster remix will be issued to do with also with the new film. In a lot of ways, it's a bit of deja vu there because I mean, because of COVID, it's been delayed, but we had these delays with the original as well. It just seems like strange doings where that album's concerned. That's the tray that it came with. Here's the LP. The LP itself also has foam on that. That's the LP itself. A red apple logo on the back. Later pressings of these don't have the red apple. I have to pull out the LP for you. Sorry. Something I didn't meant to do earlier, I had done before. Let It Be label. Okay. Now, there are a lot of mixed opinions about this album. Personally, my belief is that their true swan song was Abbey Road, not Let It Be. This only got delayed due to disinterest, inner fightings, legal wranglings, a whole lot of myriad things that were going on at the time within the group. But it is what it is. There's some great moments on the album. It's not a bad album per se. It's a pretty good album. It's just that I believe the Phil Spector productions are a bit overdone. The heavenly choirs and strings on Long Winding Road are a bit over the top. Also, the version of Let It Be on the album different to the single, and I think at one point Paul's voice is fighting with the horns toward the end there. It's very, very, you can almost hear a competition going on there. But it is what it is. It's part of history. I prefer myself the Let It Be Naked version that was released in 2004. A great album, very dynamic sounding album, very tightly well put together. Plus it includes Don't Let Me Down. I think it's a great album, a great package. Now, I mentioned the box set. America didn't get the box set. They actually got a gatefold. Now this is a bit beaten up, this version, but this is how America saw it. These are photos from the book as well. Same rear cover. And actually, red apple logos. This was actually through United Artists, not through Capital EMI. So it's an unusual release, you could say. Okay, well that wraps up this section of the story. I hope you've enjoyed this. I may hopefully do a video about the post-breakup LPs, and particularly the Australian aspect of it. I'd like to like to compare the Australian with the American. A lot of those post-breakup LPs were American concoctions from Capitol. So I'd be interested to show you how the packaging compares between the two. Particularly with albums like Love Songs, you'll see the difference when I show them, okay? Hopefully I might do one of Australian singles as well down the track. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Take care, wherever you are in the world. Stay safe and be happy. Good night, good morning, wherever you are. Good evening, good afternoon, bonjour, bye bye.